How's it going, family? Powerful I am. Carrying on with the death of Jesus. Today we're carrying on with Mark 15, verse 37. Very short, but very interesting, very powerful. And Jesus cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost. What does it symbolize? It symbolizes, in essence, the final release of force, the moment where accumulated tension, identity, and resistance are fully discharged. The loud cry represents the last exertion of ego consciousness. We have conquered it now. The final assertion of self before surrender. This is not weakness, it is completion. The cry marks the point where everything that could be held, explained, or endured has reached its limit and must be released. The act of breathing out symbolizes surrender of control. Breath, inscription, and symbolism represent life force, will, and agency. To give up the breath is to relinquish ownership of outcome, identity, and struggle. This is the death of the constructed self, the personality shaped by survival, expectation, pain, and attachment. What dies here is not essence, but form in itself. The loudness of the cry is significant. This is not a silent fading, but an intentional release. It represents truth exiting the system without restraint. The self no longer negotiates, resists, or manages perception. Everything internal is expressed, emptied, and resolved. This is the breaking of containment itself. What was held in tension is now let go. It is literally released. This moment also represents transition rather than ending. It teaches that death in scripture is never annihilation. It is transformation. It is not what people think of it being in the literal sense. It goes way beyond that. I make this analogy of a phoenix quite a lot because it's kind of symbolic as to what it represents. The cry is the threshold sound between states of being. It signals the completion of one level of consciousness and the readiness for another. Silence follows not because life has ended, but because noise is no longer needed. This verse encodes the law of release. Transformation cannot occur while identity clings to control. Only when the old structure fully exhales can a new order emerge. The giving up of breath is the surrender that allows reorganization. This moment teaches that true completion is not collapse, it is conscious release. What follows is not absence, but reconstruction at a high level of coherence. Think about it, because it maps onto a critical moment of total neurological and physiological release itself. The loud cry represents the final discharge of accumulated neural, emotional, and somatic tension. Throughout prolonged stress or trauma, the body holds charge in the nervous system, muscles, breath, and fascia. This cry symbolizes the moment when the system can no longer contain that charge and releases it into one unified expression. This corresponds to the shutdown of executive control. The prefrontal cortex, which has been managing pain, meaning, endurance, and narrative, relinquishes dominance. Control gives way to surrender. At the same time, the automatic nervous system completes a full cycle, moving from sustained sympathetic activation into a profound parasympathetic release. This is why the cry precedes the breath leaving the body. The system discharges before it settles. Because you need to understand, breath is central. Breath regulates heart rhythm, vagal tone, and emotional processing. The exhalation here represents complete letting go of muscular holding. Psychological resistance and identity tension. The diaphragm relaxes, the chest softens, and the spinal column releases stored stress. This is not collapse. It is the completion of a stress response that has run its full course. The loudness indicates full engagement of the vocal cords, lungs, and more musculature. The body participates entirely, nothing is suppressed. This is critical for integration. When release is incomplete, trauma lingers. When release is total, recalibration becomes possible. From an architectural perspective, this moment allows the nervous system to reset its baseline. After full discharge, neural pathways reorganize, hormonal levels stabilize, and perception clears. The body enters stillness not as shutdown, but as restoration and resolution. This verse reveals a core biological truth. Healing and transformation require full expression followed by full release. Only then can the system reorganize around a higher, more coherent internal order itself. Because this scripture reflects a fundamental cosmic principle. All systems release energy before they transform. In nature, nothing shifts states without a discharge. Stars explode before becoming something new. Storms release pressure before skies clear. Volcanoes erupt before landscapes are reshaped. The loud cry symbolizes this universal moment of release, the final expression of accumulated force before reorganization occurs. It is not disorder, it is law in motion itself. Because this moment represents the law of conservation and transfer of energy. Energy is never destroyed. You've heard that in science before. It just changes form. Redirect and know how to process and redirect your energy into the things you want. Feed your energy into the outcomes you seek, not the outcomes you don't want. Transform the energy into what you want. The breath leaving the body symbolizes life force transitioning from one state to another. In universal terms, this is phase change. Just as water becomes vapor through heat, consciousness transitions through surrender. The cry marks the exact threshold between containment and transformation. This verse also encodes the law of completion. In nature, cycles must finish fully to reset. An incomplete storm leaves pressure in the atmosphere. An incomplete season disrupts growth itself. Likewise, inner processes that are prematurely numbed or voided remain unresolved. The loud cry ensures the cycle is complete. The system does not fragment, it resolves. There is also a resonance with the law of rhythm. Everything moves in waves. Tension and release. Expansion and contraction. Birth and death. This moment is the deepest contraction point before expansion occurs on another level. Silence follows not as absence but as equilibrium. Nature always moves toward absence and balance. Importantly, this teaches not to sentimentalize transition. Transformation is exact, efficient, and uncompromising. When the old form has fulfilled its purpose, it is released without negotiation. Let old facets of you die. They have served their purpose. It's not to say they were all that bad. They have served their purpose. Sometimes, yes, it did get you into very sticky situations. But when its time has passed, learn to release it without negotiating with it. This verse reflects that precision. There is no chaos here, only alignment with universal timing. Because it teaches that surrender is not loss, it is compliance with cosmic order. When energy is fully released, nature immediately begins reconstitution. What appears as an ending is simply the moment energy becomes available for higher configuration. Because you need to understand that it offers such a powerful lesson about completion in itself. I like the beauty of it because simultaneously I'm covering the 10 Commandments when we are talking about the Sabbath at the moment. Release and conscious surrender in daily life is key. Many people live carrying unresolved tension, unexpressed emotion, unfinished grief, and identities that no longer serve them. You know, there was a thing I realized the one time when I did something called Dianetics. To think, an event that happened in 2007, the passing of my grandfather, was literally the reason that I had a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol and why I used to drink so profusely. Because I had one particular life event that was so traumatic for me that it was literally buried in my subconscious and it was running me subconsciously without me even being aware that I haven't processed the emotions around it. So it amplified even more when I lost my father, because another grief moment happened and I spiraled once again. Heal and deal with these things. Process your emotions, because if you don't transform the energy, it will take a different form that will destroy you from the inside. As it said in the Gospel of Thomas, if you do not bring forth what is within you, it will destroy you. But if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. Bring it out. This verse teaches that growth requires a clear ending. What is not released keeps demanding energy. What is not completed keeps repeating itself. This means learning when to stop holding on. There are seasons where endurance is necessary, but there is also a moment where continuing to push becomes resistance rather than strength. The loud cry symbolizes honest expression. In real life, this looks like allowing yourself to feel fully, speak truthfully, grieve openly, or admit when something has reached its natural end. Suppressed emotion becomes internal pressure. Expressed emotion becomes resolution. Think of a kettle. You don't want to be that guy holding all that pressure to the point where that top lid just goes kaboom. Process your emotion, and especially for men, because men bottle it up and then they wonder why they become so aggressive. It's not healthy aggression, some of it. Some of it is your unresolved emotions bottling up to the top. The verse also teaches intentional surrender. Giving up the breath is symbolic of releasing control over outcomes, timelines, and identity. In practice, this means letting go of how things must look, how others must respond, or how success must arrive. Surrender does not mean passivity. It means releasing what you can no longer carry so your energy can be reallocated more effectively. There is also a lesson in honoring closure. Relationships, habits, careers, and belief systems all require conscious endings. When you fail to close chapters properly, they leak into the present. Because this verse reminds you to end things cleanly. Speak the final word. Internally, if not externally, acknowledge what was learned. Release what is finished. Finally, this moment teaches that stillness after release is not emptiness. It is integration. After you let go, do not rush to replace. Allow silence. Allow rest. Allow the nervous system and mind to settle. New clarity emerges. Think about it. Only after space is created. In everyday life, this verse calls you to live with integrity around endings. Release fully. Rest briefly, then move forward. Lighter, clearer, and more aligned. Learn to let go. Learn to surrender. Stop trying to control everything and all outcomes. It's dangerous. And what happens next in Mark 15 verse 38? It's a beautiful moment. Very highly misinterpreted in the religious sects, because they think of it literally. Oh no, something way more profound, something way more beautiful. And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from top to bottom. Oh, let's get into this one. Oh, it's gonna be a lacquer one. I hope you enjoy it. Till next time, family, stay safe, stay blessed.